call Alec Rowley. Mr Rowley, 7 minutes or thereabouts, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I want to thank everyone who supported the motion that allowed this debate to take place today. I bring this motion here today to build the support of the Scottish Parliament behind the call from Citizens Advice Scotland, supported by much of Civic Scotland, to halt the rollout of universal credit and address the issues of concern. My point is quite straightforward. Why would any government in a civilised society continue to roll out a new policy that they know is going to hurt tens of thousands of people, drive people into debt, to relying on charity to feed themselves, and result in even more people in our country being driven into poverty? This cannot be right, and it is not right. And the Tory party must think again. Listen to Civic Scotland and stop this rollout. I raised this motion here for debate today after visiting various community organisations across Scotland, where I heard first-hand the direct experience of people and what people are having to deal with where the rollout of universal credit has taken place. I not only heard the issues that people are facing, but the increasing problems organisations are having in trying to help people cope with this rollout. Citizens Advice Scotland published a briefing in July calling for a halt to the accelerated rollout of universal credit. On the back of this, I wrote to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, as well as every MP in the country, asking them to support the call made by Citizens Advice Scotland. Every party and organisation that wants to help alleviate poverty should work together to ensure that people don't suffer as a result of this rollout of universal credit. The motion that we are debating here today highlights the problems that Citizens Advice Scotland have found in the pilot rollout areas. On top of this, only last week, 25 Scottish third sector organisations published a joint letter calling for the rollout of universal credit to be halted. This week we have seen an intervention from the Church of Scotland drawing attention to the experience people were seeing in churches across Scotland. It is clear to everyone that something is needing to be done to resolve these issues. Well, that would seem everyone apart from the Tories, who seem to be burying their heads in the sand and are in complete denial of the facts. Alongside the letters I wrote to every MP in the country, I also wrote to Ruth Davison, urging her to lend her support to the calls made by Citizens Advice Scotland. But sadly, I've never heard back from her. I would appeal to the Tories in Scotland, to Ruth Davison's party, to get behind Civic Scotland and call for the rollout of universal credit to be halted until these issues can be addressed. I did receive a response from the UK Minister. The Minister for Employment wrote back claiming that the Government do not agree with the conclusions of Citizens Advice research. The Minister went on, and I quote, "The report is based on evidence from a self-selecting group of people." This is just another classic example of the Tories denying that a problem exists as they continue to attack those least able to defend themselves and in the process drive up poverty in our country. The fact is that there has been a 15% increase in rent arrears, an 87% increase in crisis grants and a massive increase in food bank use in areas where universal credit has been rolled out. It is not right to simply ignore this. One of the biggest problems we have heard in our time and time again with universal credit is the 6-week waiting period at the start of the claim before payment. This is one of the things that is driving the increase in rent arrears and food bank reliance. What was the Government's response to this? The Minister said in his letter to me Many people coming to universal credit will have a wage from their previous job to cover their expenses until they get their first payment. How out of touch is that Tory government? They are driving people into poverty, forcing people to rely on charity to feed themselves, and they simply assume people will have enough in their savings to cover their expenses for 6 weeks. They are wrong. Indeed, Citizens Advice Scotland published research earlier this year showing that 22% of the public have no savings to fall back on, while a further 24% had less than 2 months' income. This just goes to show yet again how much the Tories don't understand what day-to-day life is like for so many people in our country. Unless the delay period for payments is fixed, there is a huge risk of driving individuals and families further into poverty. The government should not be defending these issues, but instead recognising the problems that they are causing and commit to fixing them before they cause even bigger problems further down the line. It is clear the system is deeply flawed, and we must work together to address that. I repeat, no government should inflict something on its citizens that is going to do more damage than good. No government should push people further into poverty. No government should be so arrogant to ignore the concerns raised by individuals, organisations and communities the length and breadth of our country. Until we find a solution to the problems found in universal credit, I urge everyone within this Parliament to support the calls to halt the accelerated rollout. Thank you, Presiding Officer.